Welcome back, everybody, to We Are TPM with myself, Kyle Teixeira, sitting across from John Teixeira.
Hola.
This week, we are going to discuss our pool homes, good rental properties. And before we get into it, if you guys have any questions for us about any of our previous topics, this topic, or just want to give us a call and talk through anything, give us a call, 817-818-9039. Shoot us an email at showmethemoney@wearetpm.com, or come by our office in downtown Mansfield and say what's up.
What's up? We can show you the money.
Yeah, or we could talk about our pool homes, good rental properties.
Yeah, we could talk about that. This is an interesting topic because there's a lot of people out there that won't even consider renting their property because they have a pool for all kinds of various reasons, fears. Some of them are valid and some of them, maybe not so valid. But I guess I really wanted to talk about the pros and cons to renting a pool home. And you and I, we do both long-term and short-term. Mm-hmm. So there's really a different answer for both of them, isn't there?
There is. There's a lot of key points when you get into those two because they're significantly different. And, there's definitely pros and cons. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the define good real quick. Good would, to an investor means profitable, right? So is it profitable to
increase cash flow?
Pool home in your rental portfolio?
Absolutely. I typically tell people, depending on the rest of the backyard, a pool should net you at least 10% more rent per month. Mm-hmm. Now, I say, depending on the rest of the backyard, if you got just a pool, then you're probably not getting much more than 10%. If you got a pool and a spa, maybe you get a little bit more than that. You got a pool, a spa, and a great patio with an entertaining area and an outdoor kitchen, well, we're going to go for broke, and it might be more like 20% more, right?
Or you're in a low supply, high demand rental market.
There's that too.
And a pool home with a spa and a backyard kitchen shows up on the market. And it's a nice little frenzy you get to pick. So you might get a little bit more than 20%. But yeah, that's the laws of supply and demand. So the answer is it gets you more. Is that a good thing? In general, yes. As long as it's not, the cost of having that pool home versus a home without the pool isn't in excess of, of that risk, because there are added things that come into a pool. Pool repairs, pool service. One of the things we do with our long-term rentals is requiring them not just to use pool service, but in some cases requiring them to reimburse us for the pool service. That way we know it's getting done.
Yeah, no, in all cases now, that's kind of a change we made this year, was that we now require our tenants to use our pool service of our choosing. We bill the tenant for it, they pay for it, but we maintain that contract with that pool company. Yeah,
and then the company lets us know if anything's going on and all that, because pool issues can get worse very quickly. And we're talking days, not weeks.
Yeah. We learned that recently, didn't we?
Recently, we learned that constantly.
We learn it all the time. But
So we manage two different types, like we said, long-term and short-term. Well, there's significant pros and cons and differences between short-term rentals like Airbnbs and stuff and long-term rentals where someone's just living in it.
But the pros, Kyle, are the same whether it's short or long-term, right? Like the reason to do it, let's forget about the fears. We'll address the fears in a moment, and we'll address the cons to not doing it. But the reason to do it is the same. It's revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, revenue. Cash flow.
So whether you're long-term or if you're short-term, like what do you think, Kyle, that the difference between a home and the very same home with a pool on a short-term rental basis, what do you think that difference is? I don't know if you've ever figured that out, but
in the on season, it's actually about double.
Significant.
Like in Texas, we're in Texas, so in the on season, when it's hot, when the pool is definitely.
Well, we have our sports. What is it? Why did I just forget what it's called? We have our
modern sports themed
Airbnb, which is very similar to our
pool home in the same city in the same location.
Yeah. So what's the difference between those two right now in June or July? What's the difference in nightly rate?
The pool home makes double, if not more than double, depending on, time of year. July 4th weekend, for example, rates get really inflated for pool homes and stuff like that, because that's one of the draws of making it a place where you don't just stay, but you can entertain for whatever the occasion is. Like 4th of July, everybody's using the pool. 4th of July in a regular home, they're probably staying there and going somewhere else for whatever, occasion or entertainment they're here for. So it can definitely increase revenues, and I'd say in the on season, double the revenue is probably your floor.
Another example of that was a recent guest that told you specifically that they were about to book another unit in very close to ours for half the cost, and they chose to pay twice as much to stay in our home because it had a pool.
Yeah, and it's laws of supply and demand. Even it's not as common to have pool homes and long-term rentals. It's also not as, I wouldn't say it's not common, but it's there's lesser supply of pool homes in the short-term rental sites and everything. Well, they're scared to do it in some on the investor side, but on the shopper side, the consumer side, they're the first things to get eaten up. Everybody
in Texas, anyways.
When you're looking at, we talked about short-term rentals a lot, or what's unique about your property, what's making them book yours over someone else's.
That's right.
Well, a pool in Texas when it's 105 degrees outside is a pretty good reason to book that home over the other one. Even in the worst case, your AC goes out, they're all in the pool, right? So, well, we're not gonna speak that one into existence again. But the values on both sides. It's for the same reason that it adds so much value, is it does add some risk. You need to make sure that the experience those guests get is a pool, a usable pool, and it operates a lot differently in a short-term rental than a long-term.
You know what? You're bringing up a great point for guests in short-term rentals, but let's not skip over probably one of the biggest cons that you have, right, for doing it. One of the biggest fears and reasons why I feel like there's two reasons why people don't consider them or discount them, immediately dismiss the idea. And one of them applies to both long and short-term rentals, right? And that would just be the overall maintenance. People, maybe they have a pool home that they're thinking about renting because they've lived in it. And they're the ones that they built up pool 12 years ago. They've been maintaining it. They know exactly what it takes. And they know that you have to, hit the filter 3 times on the right side and flip a switch 4 times in order to make it all work right, and so I can't count on a tenant to do that. Like, I'm being funny, but there's idiosyncrasies with all the pool equipment sometimes that scare people to allow that to be turned over to somebody else, even another pool service.
That is common, but it's just like any of the idiosyncrasies you'll see about any long-term rental, even without a pool, because it's when a homeowner's transitioning to renting out these homes, that's very common. Like they'll be
that's
like,
right.
oh, well,
that's where we get most of ours.
This fan doesn't work unless you flip the switch 3 times. Well, okay, that's something we're going to have to fix before we put renters in it. Same with the pool equipment.
You're right about that.
You have the benefit, I should say, as a homeowner of deciding what needs to be fixed and what you can deal with and all that stuff, where when you're renting it out for a fee to somebody, you have an obligation to make things work properly.
That's right. You are correct about that.
Like that fridge doesn't stay cool unless you kick it every 3 weeks.
I was just trying to be funny, Kyle. That's all I was doing. Just trying to be funny.
But you're right. That's one of the cons. But I guess that goes in probably the biggest con is expenses aren't small when it comes to pools. They're pretty much always expensive when there's a
repair.
When there's a big repair.
Yeah,
if you need a heater,
it's like owning a boat, right?
Yeah. We're not going to get into boats.
It'll be another 1,000. Is that what it stands for? Something like that. I don't know.
Oh, the BOAT. Another 1,000.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're getting that. We're missing the O somewhere. But anyways, I think everyone out there, if you're listening, you probably heard something about boats, and it's kind of the same way with pools, isn't it? But maintenance. Let's talk about maintenance. The reason why we require professionals to do it is because we don't want to count on somebody else. It's so easy to let a pool go. This is the biggest con, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to let a pool go green, to get the chemicals imbalance, the pH, you don't brush it enough. There's so many things. You have to maintain it properly. So we're counting on a professional service to do that instead of counting on a tenant who has no clue how to take care of a pool. They just want to enjoy it, right? Mm-hmm. And people are more than willing to pay for that. And I would say that cost to professionally maintain that pool is a lot less than people think, especially when you factor in the amount of money that you spend on chemicals and going down to Leslie's every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking
Shout out to Leslie's. Are they sponsor of the show?
No, they're not sponsor of the show. But yeah, I mean, that's the part that's significantly different in short-term and long-term rentals is
break out another 1,000. Steve just did it. I love it. Hey, Steve, can you call Leslie's and see if they'll sponsor the show?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Do we need to do one for pools? Pull out another some L word that means money.
We'll think about that. Steve,
pull out another lotto. But yeah, the service part is significantly different. In short term rentals, there's a high level of use that you don't consider when it's even when it's your home or it's a long-term rental. Generally, even you or a long-term rental aren't going to be using it with 12 people 8 hours a day, 7 days, 6 days a week, right? There's a specific scenario where that happens. It's where it's being rented out to people who are renting this place out to use the pool, at a high level. So the service requirements of that go way up versus long-term. So.
And they also go beyond pool equipment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to provide, pool toys and floating devices potentially. I mean, we don't have to, but you want to, right? Towels, right? An umbrella maybe, so that if you've got a yard that doesn't have any shade, like those are the things you have to think about so somebody could actually enjoy the pool versus I'm going to long-term rent it. That's their problem. They can go get all that stuff and figure that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
With a guest experience is completely different. You got to provide the experience. So two totally different games. I think I would say we feel like the revenue outweighs all the cons for the most part,
definitely.
Right?
Definitely. And I mean, especially when you go short term, the amount extra revenue that you make can quickly make up for those repairs when they happen, or the higher level of use that requires some additional service. So to answer the question, is it a good rental? It's a great product to have in your short-term rental. It's a very good product to have in your long-term rental. Whether you should go build one in a house in a rental that doesn't already have one is an entirely different conversation.
That's something I would evaluate with your real estate agent based on what the pool is going to do to your value.
Because it doesn't get you 100% back in
value.
Well,
sometimes it does. It depends on the neighborhood.
That's true.
So it's one of the reasons why I built my personal pool is because I was able to look and see and run comparable sales on pool homes and non-pool homes, and I could tell that the money I was spending on that pool, if I sold it today, I was gonna get every dollar back from it. And that's unusual, but my point is, you have some other neighborhoods that are completely the opposite that you will not get any money back from.
So if that matters to you, it's important to check that beforehand.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
Important too, especially because like your pool that you built years ago would probably cost twice as much today to build.
Would.
So the cost of building that pool comes in as a factor.
It was a good decision, a good investment in hindsight, but it isn't always. And I think talking to your real estate professional about that. You know what else? Here's another little simple trick. Like your first rental property in the neighborhood that's in, my gut tells me that would be a horrible neighborhood to build a pool. Mm-hmm. And I bet you, here's a little simple trick to tell you if you don't want to call your real estate agent or you can't run those comparables or whatever and get that drill down data information. Do a Google satellite view of your neighborhood and see how many pools are in that neighborhood. If you find no pools or 1 or 2 pools out of 100, probably not a good neighborhood to build a pool in and get any money back from it.
Yeah, and to to that point, you need a lot of comparable pool homes in your immediate area to justify that value.
That's right.
Go trying to get it from a buyer, and they're going to want justification for that added cost of that pool. And if they don't see it anywhere, they don't see it until they go a city over. It's hard to justify.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you basing this off of? So,
I heard a new one yesterday. You want to hear it?
yeah, always.
I was afraid of renting that home that had a pool in case somebody drowned or died in the pool and I would get sued.
We don't live in California, so.
Okay. All right. Answer number one. We live in Texas.
We live in Texas.
So check your state laws for the repercussions for somebody drowning in your pool. I mean, let's take
maybe the likelihood of just somebody else in your state suing you.
I think that there's a human part of that concern, right? That's like clearly you don't want anybody dying in your pool, right? Like there's a human factor there. So but the legal ramifications for that's why we have insurance. I mean, most of us have liability insurance for our homes. We, as property managers, require our homeowners to have insurance, liability insurance. We require our tenants to have the appropriate liability insurance.
It's like you don't love the what if game. The what if game.
Yeah, what if they fall and trip in a hole in the front yard?
It's true. What if the pool gets a crack and it drains and nobody notices, and then they walk over and then they fall 6 feet and they bust their head? There's just a lot of things that can happen.
What if the whole house falls into a sinkhole like the house did in Florida?
What if the house floods the pool? What are you going to do now?
See, so the point is you and I are playing the little what if game, and it's fun. I could do this all day long, but those fears, whether they're justified or not, those fears that people have keep them from getting where they want to be. Those are fears in our brain usually only. They're not actual fears and concerns. They're usually and those are the obstacles that keep us from doing things like buying that next rental property, because we come up with all kinds of reasons why we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, and I'll give you we can give our audience a nice little tip, because we don't have to always be devil's advocate. You can do it yourself. So you have that fear of somebody getting sued and all that stuff. All right, so what if that doesn't happen? Oh, I make a lot of money. Okay, so if I don't get sued by the person who drowned and tripped and drowned in my pool, which I almost want to Google how often that happens in the U.S. every year. It's probably 4. Right. How many of those 4 people sued their landlord for, I'm getting
and they were all in
into
California. I got you.
There was one guy that sued him, and he was in California. So.
They were the point being that you could what if anything, right? Mm-hmm. I could what if my trip to my job every day. So I woke up at 9, I drove 30 minutes to Dallas, right, and went to my work. Well, I could what if that whole trip. What if that guy getting on the highway crashed into me and pushed me off the bridge and I died? What if somebody ran the one of the 12 red lights I had to go through and killed? I mean,
well, let's get specific on the topic. What if the tenant doesn't take care of the pool? Okay. Then you gotta drain it, refill it, and rebalance it.
We've had to do that. Yeah. What's the worst case on that? $800, right?
Yeah, in some cases. I mean, there's a cost to anything. There's a cost to any what if, Yep. But how much more did you make when that didn't happen? What are you going to do to make sure that doesn't happen to an extent that requires all that? Who's paying that $800? Probably the tenant.
Probably the tenant, or the pool service that didn't take good care of it.
Exactly. So, but to make it simple, yes. I mean, in general, pool homes are desired. We could have the same conversation, a similar conversation, I should say, in like the mountains in Colorado. Should I have a hot tub? Is a hot tub a good rental? We're being a little bit area specific here. What we're discussing is in a climate like here in Texas where it does have value to the consumer.
You make a great point. Like, we like to go down to Fredericksburg once or twice a year. We like to go down there, and one thing I've noticed is when you get a short-term rental down there, almost every one of them has a spa. And they all market it, and if they don't have a spa, you can tell. Nope, there's no spa. I mean, it's almost like if you don't have a spa, you're getting booked last, right? Now, Fortunately for Fredericksburg, it's such a hot spot during the summer, especially, that it doesn't matter whether you got a spa or not. It's booking. But it seems to be almost a necessity to have just a little stand-up spa right on the patio. It doesn't even matter whether it's upstairs, downstairs. There's spas everywhere in that town. Whoever's maintaining spas is killing it in Fredericksburg.
It just has to be in an area that, it's a product that they desire in that area. Pools, and we manage properties in Orange Beach. Nice properties on the beach, great view of the beach.
That's what
everyone wants to make sure there's a pool so they can go sit in the pool and look at the beach, right?
I always wondered about that. Why do you want a pool when you're on a beach? Like, why do you go to a beach vacation? We're getting off topic now, right?
We lived in California at a point, so we can't.
I sit up on my balcony and I look at the beach and I look down. The pool is below me, and there's a ton of people in that pool, and I'm thinking to myself, why would you go there when you got that? Right? Like, I don't understand it.
Well, it's all the people asking, is this on the beach? Yes. Does it have a pool? Yes. It has 3 of them for some reason.
But you can't see the beach from the pool. Not in that particular pool, but anyways.
They want to swimming on the beach.
I can go to any pool. I don't need to spend thousands of dollars to go to a beach condo to go swimming. I can do that
Our
anywhere.
next topic is, should you have a beach in your rental? No.
I like it. Good topic, Kyle. Let's pen that one.
I like it.
I think we killed this one. That's why we've gone off topic, because we've already exhausted everything we know about renting pool homes.
Yeah, I guess. So yes, it's a good idea to have a pool home.
Absolutely.
As long as you have water in it. It's a good idea.
Manage it correctly.
You manage it correctly. You get it serviced, and you do everything with intention. So.
Yep. Absolutely. Hey, by the way, we just ordered. Can't wait to use this. This is good. This is good information. We just ordered something that gives us remote. It checks the water and gives us remotely through the Wi-Fi for our short-term rentals, right? Mm-hmm. And tells us the condition of the water I think it's on an as-needed basis, right? So we could probably check it, push a button, check it once a week on an app or something like that. That's what my brain thinks right now.
Interesting, because
my brain.
You think about the guest experience. You're like, what is this robot thing in the water?
No, it goes in the thing. They're not even gonna know it's there. But you got a good point. You got to be careful about that stuff.
It's like the same people that unplug the Alexas and they just think they're being.
Right. Smart thermostats, smart sprinklers, and now we got smart pool.
It's watching me.
Pool maintenance. Yep. Well, all right, close us out, Kyle.
Be smart about your pool home is all we're saying. So, but if you guys want to
hear
all the what ifs about pool homes, or what ifs or what you should just go get, give us a call, 817-818-9039. Shoot us an email at showmethemoney@wearetpm, or come see us in downtown Mansfield, Texas, where we don't have a pool, but we might be able to show you some. So.
We can show you some pool homes. I love it.
All right. We are out.
Later.